I found Sasquatch in his native habitat. Hi everybody, I'm Cindy.
I'm Gary.
We're Pathways Homestead. We are here on the Missouri Homestead, and going to show you our gardens. Gary got gardens started when I was transitioning and before I moved here, and now that I'm here, he's busy hard at work. But he did have to expand the garden because somebody ended up with way too many tomato plants and pumpkins and squashes and Malabar spinach and green beans and sweet potatoes, and yeah, go big or go home, I guess. I don't know, but it's not big at all not compared to what we've done in the past. But we do have a garden. Actually, I guess you'd consider it two because there is ground in between them, but
there's sidewalk between them.
There's sidewalk between them. Gary is out in the corn patch and in his three sisters garden. You want to tell us about your three sisters garden?
Yep, we've got all these hills. I dug a hole under all of them, and I put a fish in each hole. And then I put horse manure and dirt back over it for a hole. I planted corn in all but these 6 hills, or all but those 6 hills. This is all Cargill red corn, which is a corn I've kind of been saving seed, and I really don't have it where I want it yet, but I've been saving. Started with some Indian corn years ago. It was just marked Indian corn, and I started keeping certain ear sizes and certain color of corn, red corn off of it that was all red and that had longer ears. And this is seed, and some of y'all, I know there's a few people that we have given some of that seed to, and they've done pretty good with it. But this is what the corn is. And then I planted on this end, this is Cherokee Trail of Tears beans right there. I planted after the corn was about 6 inches tall. I planted the beans and they came up, and when the beans started, or right after, I guess just 6 days after we planted the beans, we planted Seminole pumpkins in little hills around, and there's one of them right there. That's a Seminole pumpkin, and there's a couple of other 2 or 3 hills in this patch of, actually there's 4 hills of Seminole pumpkin. And basically the idea, of course, you put the fish in there because corn is a heavy feeder, needs lots of nitrogen, and I've put a little fertilizer in these 2, a little organic fertilizer. But the corn grows up and the beans trellis on it. They're a climbing bean, a pole bean, and they trellis on the corn. And they also fix nitrogen from the air, and they fix nitrogen into the soil, and that helps some this year, but it'll help a lot later too. But it helps some this year with the corn having nitrogen, and it allows the beans something to climb on, put some nitrogen in the soil for the corn. And then the squash, or the Seminole pumpkin, which is the squash we're using in this patch, the Seminole pumpkin, it vines out and starts to cover the ground, and in the heat of the summer it'll shade the ground, keep the ground a little cooler, and help hold moisture in. And so that's kind of the way a Three Sisters works. It's a native, it's indigenous to the eastern United States method of planting, and we are actually using varieties that come from those tribes too. And so the Trail of Tear beans I think is really cool, and we've grown them before. And then in the other end of the garden, or other end of this little Three Sisters, I planted some Bloody Butcher, a couple of hills of Bloody Butcher, and a couple of hills of Earth Tone Dent corn. And neither of those have done really good. They didn't germinate really good, so I went and planted some of my red corn in beside them, and those are coming up now. And then the beans I planted on that end are Good Mothered Stallard, which are a big round bean. And we planted those 1 year. We did okay with them. We really thought they were a cool bean and tasted pretty good and stuff. And so we planted them this year in this little patch to see how they do. And then next to this we've got some onions. I've got a few candy onions. I didn't plant many onions, but I've got a few candy onions right there. And Then Cindy's planted some green mustard in here, and I don't know if it's coming up yet or not.
Purple mustard, yeah. It's
Purple mustard.
Yeah. See, right here.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Right there, sure
And
enough.
it's all down through there.
I see it now. Now it's
Yeah.
pointed out, I reckon.
Some of it's starting to leaf out, so in a week we should be able to eat some.
Yeah.
Well, I need to come in and weed.
That's cool.
I just sowed all my seed, and I probably should have been a little more selective, but I sowed all the seed.
It's all right. I don't know if you guys can see, but I am barefoot in the garden. Barefoot, shorts, and t-shirts, which is rare to see me like that in the daylight. But today I wasn't feeling real good, so I decided to do that and get some grounding in. I don't know if that really does any good or not, but we'll see. And I'm just kind of having a lazy day piddling around in the garden. This is Crimson Sweet watermelons. I just planted 2 little hills right here on the end of the garden. And Crimson Sweet is a kind of oblong but more rounder, medium-sized watermelon. It's not a huge one, but it's a medium-sized watermelon that gets really good dark red meat. It's about as good at eating melon as it gets. That and the Charleston Gray, I think, are the top melons to eat. And so we planted a couple of hills of them. We'll see how they do. And there's horse manure and fertilizer in those hills. And you can see behind me where some of the corn that I bought the seed, that it didn't germinate really well, and I've planted some of our red corn and it's starting to pop. There's one, and there's some over there.
Oh, I won't see the ones that are over there.
That's okay.
The other corn.
But this is Good Mother Stollard beans, and they're doing really good. I'm really tickled with how they're growing. Seminole pumpkin here, you can see it's doing pretty good, and that's a Seminole pumpkin. And there's another little hill of them somewhere. There's a hill back there.
You had one hill of your beans sprouted and everything, but your corn didn't do well at all. Right
so
there.
I came back and replanted corn in it, and we'll see if it can catch up.
We may have to trellis those beans.
Yeah.
You had one stalk of corn come up late.
Yes, right there it is. I went ahead and planted beans in it because I wasn't sure what was going on with the corn. I probably shouldn't have, but I'm going to get some beans out of it anyways. And I planted the Cargill red corn in there later, and it's coming up really good. And that's Mother Earth Tone Dent corn, and I'm not sure I'm tickled with that seed company at all.
So we figured that the seed from our Cargill red was 4 years old, at least, right?
Yes.
So all that corn over there that germinated well is the Cargill red corn, and the seed is at least 4 years old. And then the corn that he bought did not germinate well. You can plainly see the difference between the Cargill red corn and the seed that he bought this year to plant this year. And you had Earth Tone Dent and Bloody Butcher. So Bloody Butcher are these first
three.
And
the second 3 are the Earth Tone Dent.
Yep. So I think you're definitely got something going with your Cargill's red.
Yeah, and I wanted to add some of those other genetics because I wasn't getting where I wanted with my Cargill red. I wanted to kind of put some size on them and some more continuity. And so we'll see what that does. They might not make nothing. This is our Grandpa Cargill's okra, and only one came up. Only one germinated. So Cindy replanted it. And we're going to see how that goes. And Grandpa Cargill's okra, you guys, if you've watched as much, you know that's pretty important to us. Now I've got cowpeas in here that aren't doing real good. They didn't germinate real well either, and I don't know what's going on there for sure. And at the end of this row, there's a few onions, and then there's some sweet potatoes at the end of this row.
Look at his green beans, y'all.
The green beans are doing well. So to this point right here, from there to there is tender green.
Tender green bush, yep.
Tender green bush beans. And they're doing well. They're starting to put on.
Get ready for blooming.
Yeah, getting ready to put on little flowerets to bloom. And then these are black turtle beans to the trellis. And black turtle beans are a pretty hardy bean plant. My little bamboo trellis I built here. And this side to about here, those are just Kentucky Wonder pole beans. It's kind of an heirloom pole bean, but heirloom as in it qualifies as an heirloom, but it's not ancient. Like the black turtles are an ancient bean. And then these few here, from about there this way, those are asparagus beans or yard-long beans, also kind of like Chinese noodle beans, about the same thing. It's actually in the cowpea family. From right here, the rest of the way down here on both sides, that are climbing so good, if you can see that one up there already, those are willow leaf lima beans, and I ordered those seeds from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, and they look, when I opened the seed packet, when I opened the package, it looked like umpteen bean soup. They were all different colors and shapes and sizes, and so I planted those, and right now the plants are very consistently willow leafed. We've got a long narrow leaf like a willow tree, and they are climbing good, they're growing good. We're excited to see how those do. This is gray zucchini growing here, and they're doing pretty good. They've got little zucchinis coming on, about the size of the end of my finger. And in between our zucchini, each of our hills, I'm assuming there's still one right here.
Yeah, there is.
There's one right there and right there. Those are sweet potatoes. And for years my dad has planted a sweet potato between his squash, and he claims it's helped with squash bugs. We've done it once and not had great luck with our sweet potatoes really growing or doing anything. A lot of them died on us. We've done it a time or two, I guess. But we're trying it this year, and they're growing. Our sweet potatoes are doing good. There's one here that's doing pretty good, and there's one here. We'll show you another one in a minute. These are just some slicing cucumbers that I planted, just one hill, slicing cucumbers. One of the things we've done in our garden this year, we've gone from a homestead that was set up to fill a farmer's market stand and to provide an income, to a homestead that now is just providing part of our own food, just kind of a subsistence type. It's just going to provide us with some of our own food, and so we're a lot way scaled down. Used to, we'd have planted 15 hills of cucumbers, and right now we've planted one. So, and then we've got a sweet potato here, and then we've got yellow squash, and there is a video up about these. But right there's the squash putting on already. We like the straight neck yellow squash. I know that some of the crook neck varieties are much older, but I just like the way the straight neck produce. And then here's a big healthy sweet potato coming on. Planted those from slips, and they're doing good. These next two rows I planted early and really had trouble with them doing anything. I planted spinach and lettuce that really didn't make. We had 2 or 3 lettuce plants, but we've gone back and planted some other things in them. And this here, I did plant those, and Cindy kind of replanted them because they kind of got a little scattered.
I transplanted them.
Yeah, I transplanted them. See some right there.
I planted collards. We're in that bare spot. We're right in front of Gary. I planted collards, but they washed out real bad. And then Gary's got some cilantro just past that.
Now, there's a cilantro right there.
Yeah, there's
there's some cilantro right here. That collards look like it's doing good.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll have some collard greens, and I think I got these from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. I did, and they're Alabama blue. yeah. And then Gary's got cilantro down there where his hoe is. And then beets, Detroit red beets. And then
I had some radishes here, but we've eaten most of them.
Yeah, we eat most of the radishes. It's about time for radishes to be done.
Behind me, hidden in the grass, like Easter eggs, those are, there's some carrots hidden in this grass. And there's 4 o'clocks there, some flowers.
The 4 o'clocks came from Simply Jan. She gave those to us last year. Right here, 4 o'clocks. She gave those to us last year at the Growing Towards Self-Sufficiency Gathering. She brought those to us. There's some more zinnias on the end of the radishes. And then Gary's got planted some, right there he's pointing with the hoe. He planted some marigolds.
Yep. That zinnia and that one too, they've got bloom heads.
Yep, they're going to flower soon. And then the bare spot between Gary and the camera right there, I planted a whole bunch of herbs and some calendula and stuff. And so far nothing has sprouted. I may have gotten too late. The ground may be too hot. A lot of stuff is very sensitive to moisture and soil temperature. But yeah.
We've got some tomatoes here that I can't remember the variety.
There's more than one variety. He's looking for a tab, a little tab.
I don't see it.
There may not be one there. There's a tab on this one.
Okay.
It's a bush Goliath. That's why those
Goliath.
That's why those are so thick.
That's what these are. We planted,
Yeah.
well, 4 of them are anyway.
Yeah.
That one's probably something different.
Yeah, that one's, it'll be whatever those ones over there are.
Yeah. We've got 3 tomatoes in here and some oregano,
which is getting too much nitrogen. That's why it's yellow.
And then we've got
Egyptian walking onions.
Yeah, Egyptian walking onions. Some nice plantain growing around too.
Yeah. We brought those with us from the homestead in Kansas, the Egyptian walking onions.
And get a good start of them here. They'll take that bed over at some point.
Yeah. Tell us about your potato tower.
So this is an experiment. I did one similar to it years ago, but I put rabbit manure and old hay in there, in that ring of hog wire, and I planted potatoes. I put potatoes around the outside, and I'm not sure what all's going on with it. There's some potatoes growing. They're not great, but I haven't figured it all out yet. So it was kind of an experiment, and I'm not sure. Kind of something somebody told me they thought worked, and I'm not sure what to think of it yet. So, and I kind of did it with what I had and in a hurry. So we'll see how it does. I hope it makes a few potatoes. Okay, we've got some red deuce tomatoes and some old German tomato. This is an old German tomato. And these 2 are red deuce tomatoes. Yeah, something like that down through there. And we've got
there's some yellow tomatoes in there too.
That's what the old German are, a yellow tomato variety. They're yellow with pink blushing in them. We're going to see how they grow. We've never grown them, either of those varieties before. Most of our tomatoes are not varieties I've grown before this year. It was kind of what we kind of come up with as plants. So behind me I have some some peppers, and I have some, is this basil? Purple basil?
Purple basil.
Purple basil planted around them growing that Cindy planted. It's growing great. Different kinds of peppers. There's sweet peppers and jalapenos and bell peppers.
These are all sweet. Bells and the Dvarskis.
Okay, cool. You can see that we've got some mulch around these tomatoes, but I didn't get them on soon enough. We got a little trouble from the dirt there. We've got some Georgia Candy Roaster squash planted here. We got those seeds while we were at Baker Creek Spring Planting Festival, and we planted them the next week, and they're growing good. We have a sweet potato planted here, and there's several more, hills. There's 4 hills of Georgia Candy Roasters and 3 sweet potatoes. This one, not sure it's going to make it, but it might. on this first trellis, we've got some Malabar spinach planted under it. And that seed's got a little age on it too. We'll see how it does.
And then what else is there?
Oh, those are black coat runner beans.
We also picked those up at the Spring Planting Festival.
Yeah, and they're big old pretty plants. And they're coming up. We'll see how they do this year. And then we got a couple of little rows of sunflowers here coming up, and they're doing good. Then these are our jalapenos, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is our row of jalapeno plants. They're doing good. And behind me I have, what do we call these?
Nebraska sweet.
Yep. Sweet fall Nebraska squash. And they're a native variety out of, an indigenous variety out of Nebraska.
And more
sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes.
And then over here, past the peppers.
Got a lone tomato plant.
Yep, there's a tomato plant and 4 eggplants over there on the end.
This old tree, we decided to plant our loofah gourds, and we got those in kind of late, and so none of them have sprouted yet. We'll see how they do. I'm really excited to see how they'll vine up this gnarly old tree. I started these at home and brought them with me. There's also some onion starts too. So I'll let Gary tell you what all is in the flower bed though.
Guess what's in the flower bed?
Sasquatch.
Flowers. So the first thing we have here is celery. Those are celery, and the variety is Utah. Don't know anything about them. Our little local greenhouse had them. We're going to try them. Said you had to keep them pretty wet, pretty damp, so we've got the hose here because we're watering them pretty regular. And then that
Sweet mint.
is sweet mint Cindy got and put it in here. And we've got a kind of a, is it a wildflower variety?
Yep.
A wildflower variety planted here, and I can see some of them popping already.
It's a butterfly mix.
Butterfly mix, okay. Butterfly mix of flowers, and they're popping. And then here we've got a stevia plant. We're going to grow some stevia again this year. It's been several years since we've done that, few years.
Got those little daisies.
Yeah.
They got purple in the middle of them.
They're beautiful.
And then I got a little Gerber daisy, and then my petunias.
Yeah.
So that's our garden tour. So thank you guys for coming along. Remember,
God made you special.
and He loves you very much. Hide and watch, y'all.
See y'all later.